it is also your responsibility to get them out as quickly as possible, to avoid them creating drag on your business. How is it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Sean Barnes. I want to welcome you back to The Way of the Wolf. On the show today, I want to talk about the challenges and costs around making a bad hire. I've danced around this topic for years, but never created a dedicated episode on this topic. So I want to talk about the negative impact it's going to have on your business, team, and organization, and then also share a few tips at the end on what you can do as a leader, as a hiring manager, to be able to avoid some of these issues and challenges that are inevitably going to occur if you make a bad hire. I want to start off by citing a statistic from the U.S. Department of Labor. They say that about 30% of an employee's first year salary is the cost of this bad hire. Now, there's a lot of ways that this can unfold. You bring somebody in, you don't recognize it for the first 3 to 6 months, and then you finally get them out. There are still some very direct costs associated with recruiting, training, onboarding, all of these direct costs that are easily quantifiable. And then if you have cycling of employees that is going on or churn that is occurring, you're constantly recruiting, constantly training. It is a bad situation overall. This speaks to how crucial it is to make sure that you get the right hire. And as soon as you recognize it's not a good fit, start taking meaningful and actionable steps to get them out of the organization and start recruiting so that you can get the right fit. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to model out a scenario for you. You bring in an employee, they start working with the organization, very impressive. They maybe interviewed beautifully well, great conversations with everybody on the team, and then you get them in the door and they're not quite delivering what you expected. I see this a lot. As you're recruiting people, those that have an outgoing, bubbly personality, they're easy to get along with, and they have the gift of gab, as some people have said. You start to get excited, and you start to think, finally, we got the right fit for our team. And then you bring them in, and then when you need them to start executing on something, it doesn't quite go as planned. You start to recognize, ooh, these skills aren't what I was told they are. Oh, they don't quite deliver at the level that I was expecting. Oh man, this is challenging. This is not a good thing. Well, let's start coaching them. Let's start working with them. Now that is part of the onboarding and training process. But there will be red flags that you have to watch out for. Now, what we have to do is make sure that the higher we go into the organization, as far as recruiting for these more senior level roles, that we are even more intentional about ensuring we get the right culture fit. We get the right person that is going to come into the organization and have the impact that we need them to have. Because if we look at this 30% number, if you're looking at an entry-level role of someone that makes $50,000, $60,000 a year, okay, that is a little bit manageable, especially for a large organization. If you make a bad hire, all right, lesson learned. We'll make sure that we avoid that in the future. If you hire a vice president or higher or even C-level executive, there are usually some sort of employment agreement or contracts in place that make it extremely difficult for you to get them out of your business and extremely costly. It goes far beyond just 30% of their base salary. And I have personally witnessed instances where somebody comes into the organization, they're with the company for less than 6 months, and it ends up costing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get them out. That's obviously not a good thing. And it goes far beyond just their lack of ability to perform a given task or perform a certain thing. If you make the wrong hire and there's not a culture fit, maybe they slip over into that realm of toxicity, but they are creating frustrations with everybody around them in their team and any teams that touch their team by any sort of interactions. What you end up with is a frustrated workforce. These people end up thinking, why isn't this being addressed? This is clearly a problem, but nobody's addressing the issue. And so all these employees that are out here in the organization, they start spending more and more time bitching and complaining about why is this guy or girl still here? They are clearly destroying the organization than actually getting work done. And I have talked quite a bit about getting that toxic employee out of your business. And when you do, the productivity for the rest of the team just skyrockets. And it is actually quite shocking. And a lot of senior leaders will have this mindset of, well, they're my best salesperson, or they design more tools than anybody else. Okay. If you have somebody that is in a role of an individual contributor and they're doing all these great things, but they are negatively impacting the productivity and output of everybody else on the team, as a leader, you have to be aware of that. And you have to think, okay, Sally's over here knocking this stuff out, but Jason and John and Chris and Jacob, their productivity is way down here. When you get that toxic person out, everybody else on the team, their productivity will start to skyrocket. Now, this is also where it starts to get interesting. When you do get them out of the organization, it doesn't end there. There is a sigh of relief of, finally, God, oh my God, we got them out. Okay, now we can start doing some work, which is great. Productivity increases. People start to get in a better headspace. They start focusing on the mission or project at hand instead of complaining about this employee over here that was just creating massive issues. But as time goes on, the rest of the team starts to discover all of these issues and problems that we thought had been addressed by this person, and they actually hadn't been addressed. So if they worked on a project and then 6 months later, someone on the team has to go back to that project and extract some data, and then you find out, oh God, this is a mess. This isn't right at all. So now, 6 months after they're gone, the people on the team are having to still fix and repair and redo work that was done by this bad employee. So it's not just a matter of the damage that is occurring while they are at your organization. It lasts for a long period of time. And that is very unfortunate. And so when you think about this, if somebody comes in, they're only with you for 3 months and you get them out the door, there's not a whole lot of damage that can occur. But if you bring that toxic or bad employee in and you wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you finally build up the courage and guts to get them out of your business, now you've got up to 5 years of issues and problems and crap to sift through and unwind and fix. So that is lost productivity on the team that is still around. They're going to get frustrated, and interestingly enough, the team will corral and pull together and solve these problems. but it's still lost productivity and it creates challenges. It creates drag on your business. All right, so I think hopefully I've been able to clearly lay out some of the challenges associated with making a bad hire. Let's go ahead and talk through a couple of tips that I have learned to help you avoid finding yourself in this situation. The first thing I want to talk about is setting a stronger filter at the front door. When you are going through the recruiting process, you need to know exactly what role you are looking to fill, what skills you need for this person to have to successfully execute in that role. And you need to go above and beyond just the hard skills. You need to look for the fire in their belly, that determination, that drive, that grit. That is what you want to look for. If they are passionate about this thing that you are going to have them focused on, even better. Because at that point, you really don't even have to worry about the hard skills. You just set them loose and say, here's all of our information, go. And they will be intrinsically driven to learn, to grow, and to make a positive impact on the organization. So setting that filter, making sure you know exactly what you want, and then as you're going through the interview process, clearly articulate what you are looking for and what the organization is looking for. Also, you need to be transparent. If you are an organization that is focused on results, and that is paramount, that's great. But don't sell the candidate on this wonderful work culture where you've got foosball tables and bring in lunch every other day for the team, and then you've got cookies and all these different things. You need to be transparent and honest. Don't sell them a bill of goods just to get this high performer in the door, because then they're going to recognize what has happened and they're going to bounce anyways. Set the strong filter and be transparent about what the expectations are for the role, and then be transparent about what your business is and how they operate and what the real culture is like. And that's a topic for another day, because a lot of executives think, oh, we've got this great culture, we focus on leadership development, but then they really don't. That's a whole nother topic. But make sure, again, that you've got that filter set right on the front end. Second, don't rush the process. I know if you have a growing business, especially one that is growing at a rapid rate, you want to get bodies in the door as quickly as possible. And it can be very easy to think you have found the right candidate and then recognize, ooh, we actually didn't get the right person. Slowing down to speed up is a very real thing. Let other members of the team interview the candidates. I've seen this in small businesses and large businesses. The hiring manager, they go start interviewing John. Oh, John's fantastic. John's fantastic. They throw John into a team full of 4 other people. Not a single other person on the team likes John. And then you've got a problem. Yes, letting other people slows down the process. See the previous talking point. Sometimes that is a good thing. Now, I believe Google has actually done studies on this where they say once you get past about 3 to 4 people on your team interviewing a candidate, you start seeing a point of diminishing returns. Because if they pass the sniff test, as it were, with those first 3 to 4 people, it is a high probability that if they interview with a 5th, a 6th, a 7th person, they're probably already going to be in line. Make sure that you give a handful of people on your team an opportunity to meet the individual, to ask them questions, to be real and raw. And another thing that I actually like to do with this process, bring everybody into a conference room. I'll kick some things off, and then I actually step out and I let the rest of the team interview the candidate. That way, the big bad boss isn't in the room unintentionally influencing the conversation and the questions that are asked. It also gives the candidate an opportunity to say, hey, so what is Sean really like? I've seen him on YouTube. He seems like this great guy focused on building others. What is he really like? Now, that could end up good or bad, but as long as you know who you are and you are intentionally focused on building your team, hopefully that won't end up bad for you. Okay, once you decide this is the right candidate, make sure you have a solid onboarding process. It can be quite demoralizing for a new person who's excited to start at this new company, and they show up and they don't have a laptop, they don't have a login to log their time or access to any systems. That's frustrating. It's demoralizing. So make sure that you have some sort of a process mapped out to welcome these employees into the organization. As the hiring manager, you should absolutely be there on day one. You don't have to hold their hand the entire time, but be there on day one. Introduce them to everybody. Get them set up. Make sure that their laptop and company phone and everything is all situated and set up on day one, and then have time scheduled with other members of the team to come in and start training them on various systems and processes and things like that. That's going to help them feel welcome into your organization. It's going to start things off on a good foot for you. Now, if you've done all of these things correctly, you've spent the time putting the filter on the front end, all that time and energy recruiting, making sure you get the right fit, you onboard them correctly. Within the first few weeks, you are quickly going to be able to determine if they are a high performer or if you have been tricked by someone with the gift of gab, a great salesperson who talked about all the great things that they could do, but actually doesn't deliver anything. As soon as you start to see those red flags, take note and start having conversations. Hey, John, I know you just started. I know we talked about this, and this. I'm starting to see some challenges here. I really want to make sure that you are set up for success. Here's the way we'd like to see things done. Is there anything I can do to help you get there? What you are doing is setting the tone and just reiterating the expectations and making sure that John knows coming in, hey, this is what they said in the interview process, and now that I'm here, this is actually what's going on. Those aren't always fun conversations to have, and I think that's why a lot of managers struggle with it, because we don't like having uncomfortable conversations. But it is important that you start addressing any sort of issues as soon as they come up, instead of just letting them fester and then you getting frustrated. Because what ends up happening, the longer they end up staying in your organization, the more damage they are going to cause. Even if you have the best intentions, you have to start addressing these problems. You have to have the uncomfortable conversations. So there's a few different things that I have found to be quite helpful. Setting a filter at the front door, don't rush the process, letting your team interview them, making sure you have a solid onboarding process. If you see the red flags early on, start addressing them as soon as possible. At the end of the day, as a leader of the team and a business, you have to know exactly what you are looking for. You have to have a very carefully curated vision of what you want to accomplish. When you have that vision, when you are on your mission and purpose, and the broader organization gets behind it, the responsibility is yours to ensure that you don't bring in other people into the organization that do not align with that mission, vision, and goal. If you do, it is also your responsibility to get them out as quickly as possible, to avoid them creating drag on your business. With everything that's going on in the world today, speed is king. If you introduce elements into your organization that slow it down, You have to be the one to address it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for the show today. Hopefully this is beneficial. As always, please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just look up Sean Barnes or The Way of the Wolf. Tons of content out there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Continually trying to ratchet our production quality up on that front. And if you have made it this far and have not left a review for us on any of the audio platforms or subscribe to the YouTube channel, do me a solid. Go ahead, click that bell, click subscribe, leave me a review. Just one quick swipe of the thumb, take 30 seconds. That helps get the message out there and can hopefully positively impact more people's lives. Y'all have a good one.